started. Alright, good evening everybody. Thanks for coming to this very short meeting, I hope. I'll call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Call to the audience. I don't think I see any audience member. Approval of the agenda. If there's any last minute changes, I can take that now. Otherwise, approval of the minutes. Probably table that minutes.
You know, I didn't have time to look at those minutes, so I'm gonna look at them real fast, because I think I have a correction.
I'm actually going to move to table those minutes.
Okay.
Partly because I have a problem with some statements that were made there that are incorrect. One of that was me saying improving cultural centers. I don't remember saying I wanted to improve cultural centers, and that's my job to start with.
Yeah. Alright. Second.
So hold business, Jim, not around. Repository, not around.
Actually, can we talk about that real fast? Because
Which
remember
of them?
the repository.
Okay.
We have info.
Yeah, so I sent Weiren 2 of the 3 PowerPoints we wanted. I don't know if you've had a chance to find the one, or I think you needed to like make some changes or something.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay, great. And last call for anything else everyone thinks the reps should be have access to, because Weiren wants to put it all up at once and then make it public. So.
Okay.
Alright.
Any other comments on that?
Nope. Okay.
And it might not be, I might not be on this yet. Like, he might be working on this before I get him this new thing, because I think that we really need to pare down the PowerPoint for like orientations. Like, there's way too much text on it.
Yeah. I have my own orientation PowerPoint that I know I was using, but I think it's different from the one that
Let me
Jude
see
was
yours
using.
and I'll make a
I'll do
combo
that.
of it, because the
Yeah.
one I have is one Kevin sent me.
So what you can basically do is look through mine, and then if it looks the same, ignore it. And if
Yeah.
it looks different, just make sure that I'm not missing any information that the other one has. And if I am, just like transfer a slide over. How does
Yeah.
that sound?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll do that.
Okay. And for the record, the one you have is, I think, is the one Kevin gave to me, and that was the one I sent to you.
And I have an updated one from January that Kevin sent me, so.
Okay.
Or
Alright,
from
fine.
fall, but it was sent to me in January.
Next thing is Supreme Court.
We now have a Supreme Court.
Awesome.
We're going to have to update those rules. All it needs is a 50% ratification of the correct version of the rules that says the third of the GC can ask for an advisory opinion. Shouldn't be a big deal. I don't see it being a problem.
Okay.
We'll just make sure that it aligns with the Constitution. Okay?
Okay. Hi,
Sounds
Jesse.
good.
Welcome. So next thing is GPS's strategic plan. Quite frankly, there hasn't been any update since the last time.
Why are you looking at me?
Well, you know I'm looking at you, so
I'm not the only person
You
that
should
has
learn all of us,
ideas.
to be fair.
you already know I'm looking at you, so I'm not going to talk about that. Next thing is dark alert. I spoke to one of the administrators today because I was trying to get a feedback on the content of the letter and what we want to have in there. So I'm going to try and put in some of his feedback within the next couple of days. I've also sent it out to ASU to have them sign on to it. I think they said they would discuss it at the next meeting. So what we're trying to do...
ASU or ASUA?
ASU,
Okay,
the Grass Student Government over there. So we're trying to get the 3 universities
Yeah.
to sign it.
cool.
3 student governments. I've also sent it to NAU, but NAU has not given me a clear response whether or not they want to sign up. Last time he just said he wanted us to have a specific ask in it. But ASU will discuss it within the student government sometime this week, I think, and get back to me.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the latest update on that. GPSC officer's position. There's been lots of emails going back and forth with this. I don't know if you guys wanted to talk about this here or just take it to the general council, because either way, whatever we want to do will still need to be approved by the general council. So do we want to have like a single recommendation we want to take to the general council, or just, I think right now we have 3 different options.
Yeah, I think if there's a clear majority from the executive board, we can present that one as the version the executive board is recommending. If there's no clear majority, then we can just lay them all on the table
Yeah.
for the GC.
I mean, I don't think that wouldn't be the worst idea anyways, just so they can see all of the options.
Well, we could also just show them all 3 and say the executive board, like the majority of the executive board approved of this one, if there is a clear majority.
Okay.
Is there a clear majority, Jude? I think you've been getting direct emails.
Well, apparently everyone has seen it. There isn't any clear majority. Actually, I think we have 4 options. You have chimed in. I came up with 2 options.
Yeah.
Jim came up with 1. I think that's about it for we have.
Marquez came up with one.
No,
Marquez
Marquez copied and
only-
pasted mine.
Second.
I thought he
Oh,
just
okay,
another
okay,
one
okay.
too, but no, it turns out he was just agreeing.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
It turned out that he just second the
Yeah.
recommendation from Jasmine. So I think we only have 4 different recommendations right now. Do you guys want to talk about it or want to leave it up to
I mean, I would be
GC.
interested to hear what Daniel and Danielle have to say.
Daniel? Yeah, I haven't made a point yet.
I haven't looked at any of them, frankly. When we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, I was in favor of maintaining all of the
GAs?
GAs, but using one of them as someone in Jesse's position,
And
basically.
I think that was
So that's
combine
It
not
was
what-
loosely recommended in what
Yeah.
What
Jasmine
Ja-
had.
But the
come up with.
implication with what Jasmine recommended is that those 3 GAs would have to be elected. So I think it's also kind of different from what Daniel had in mind, which was creating another, more like a director position who
But
in
it wouldn't
charge.
be in the G.
of-
It wouldn't be on the EB.
It won't be on the
That would be
EB,
the
more like
next.
similar to travel grants and research grants,
Yeah.
who would then be a legislative and funding person.
Yeah.
That's correct.
But Jasmine's recommendation is saying put that person as part of the executive board.
and I'm
Literally.
perfectly open to suggestions.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a problem with either version of that. I mean, Jesse actually comes to the executive board meetings, so.
So might as
it
well
wouldn't be-
make that
yeah,
position a
who
real
else?
member.
Yeah, well, but it doesn't make any difference to me.
Danielle, what are your thoughts?
Want to chime in?
What are Jesse's thoughts?
I'm torn with it, and I see pros and cons to both. On one hand, I think since this is an advocacy organization, it would be nice to have an advocacy person represented and vote. On the other hand, I don't know if electing that position from the student body, really with a 2-paragraph statement, is going to get the best person for that, where an interview process with members of the executive board and council, they know that role, they have that vision, and
Yeah.
can look at a candidate's experience, see how they,
And not to be rude
Interact.
to you, Jesse, or anyone else, but I also would like to be able to fire this person should they not do their job. And it would be very difficult to do that if they were
That's true.
elected by the
It's true.
So,
student body.
and one thing we can do, because there are no rules against this, is we could hire the person, but still have them be an executive board member.
That's gonna
I
put
would
a
not
different
recommend
I
it.
wouldn't
twist
do that.
to
Okay.
document entirely.
No. So yeah, I think that my idea still is combine the AVP and EVP again, and then reallocate the other GA position, not let it go, but keep it as kind of like travel grants and research and project grants, those types of things. Events is also a GA, right? So that way we would have somebody that does advocacy,
An advocacy GA.
marketing, and fundraising all together.
Okay.
That would be their purpose.
I would allow someone with
That makes sense?
correct skills to.
We'll have to find an office for that person. Because whoever that person will be, we need to do office hours and actually come in and.
Well, I
no,
mean,
no,
they
that's
would-
fine. We have the president office already, and we have the cubicle that I'm in right now.
Yeah.
So if we're
Okay,
gonna
we can-
downsize to one
okay.
VP and move that other GA to a director GA,
Okay,
then
that
they can
works.
just have one of those
That
areas.
works,
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess then one big question is, do we actually care about having 5 members of the executive board, or are we okay with fewer?
It needs to be an odd number.
It doesn't need to be an
I
odd
think
number,
it only makes sense to have an odd number.
That's
but then we
really
could
the
have 3.
Oh,
Because my
three
proposal
becomes
had
very.
the like floating rep role just to round it out to 5. So we removed the director GA and we removed the floating rep, it becomes 3.
What, I mean, like, what you'd end up with is president, vice president, and
Social chair,
Social chair.
based on what?
Okay. Hmm.
Or 2 floating reps. I don't really know if that's a good or a bad idea.
I still recommend leaving a secretary, but then give that person more responsibilities.
Well, we tried that.
Huh? Yeah, I then have a secretary, but have that person do more than taking notes at the meeting. Probably do other things. With regards to the VP being in charge of not the VP, sorry, the treasurer being in charge of awarding stipends, we can move that over to, just thinking out loud, move that over to the secretary. I'm sure we can also find some responsibilities from AVP position that might fit best with the secretary's role, so that the
I would say
VP
we should,
can then focus on working on advocacy with whoever the legislative director is and some other external issues, and then the president is fully involved in what's happening on
Well,
campus.
and it would
those
also
things.
take some of the responsibilities off of the president,
Yeah.
where the vice president would not just be either internal or external, but also like meet with deans and that type
Yeah,
of thing
Yeah.
in the colleges
mm.
in terms of outreach.
If we gave the secretary more responsibilities, I would definitely say live stream would be one of them. Because for one thing, that completely
That's- yeah,
fulfills open
yeah.
meeting law's requirements.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it's really easy to do live stream and take notes at the same time.
That's-
I'm
that's
actually
a good
doing that because I
point.
haven't heard back from Maria
That's a
on
good
whether
point.
she plans to try to make minutes off the live stream. So
That's a good point. So that's absolutely one thing we can include. You wanted to make a comment, Jim?
Yeah, well, I've been on GPSC for quite a few years, and we've always had a secretary and treasurer, and most other organizations do too. I think we should keep those positions. I mean, certainly, I know I have no shortage of work I need to do as treasurer, and Maria's always swamped with the work she's doing. Both jobs are, I know I heard Jasmine say, you know, her job doesn't even take up 20 hours a week, and Maria and I are both commiserating each other on a regular basis about how much time we're spending. You know, so those two jobs are, I would say, pretty time intensive, and I don't know who you're gonna get to fill those if you don't have a secretary and a treasurer. And certainly, combining the two roles, you know, would be a full-time job. I mean, really.
Well, thanks for the feedback. So my understanding is that right now the secretary's role is to take minutes at the meetings. That's literally the only responsibility among
and
whoever
chair an internal
aside.
position.
Sorry?
Or chair an
Chair an
internal
internal
committee.
committee, which can also change, because as we look through the documents, we will get to that point where we look at what internal committees are really necessary and what internal committees that we can let go of at this
It's also
point.
going to be a secondary thing where if there are fewer executive board positions, they're not going to be enough to chair.
To
every
chair
single
to start with,
committee.
yeah,
Some
so
of them.
I don't think the chair internal committee is a very significant thing either. But my point is, I personally think that having someone whose sole role is to take minutes at meetings, I don't know if I see that as a very effective position in the executive board. I know ASUA does not have a secretary, correct me if I'm wrong, Megan, but they have someone who take minutes during their Senate meetings. So I'm of the opinion that we should, while I'm saying let's keep the role of the secretary so we can still have someone take that minute, I'm saying that we should probably take some of the responsibilities within AVP and treasurer right now and include it to that person. And then the other parts of the responsibilities for the treasurer can easily go to the business department.
Yeah.
We have full-time staff members
And the
who do
administrative
that.
assistant.
And even the administrative assistant, like that's their job full-time. And literally, most of the things that the treasurer does, and I'm not picking on you, it's not, whoever is in your role, what that person will still need to do is to get information from the business unit. And it's just like having some sort of channel in between which any other person can the markets work on. So bottom line, unless there is a very strong argument that says this is why we need to pay someone an additional $3,000 for the position of the treasurer right now, I think those responsibilities can go to the business department and the administrative assistant and the president. And I think and even Megan's position as well. I think some of that might even go to her as well if she's willing to take some of that. So that's and also it helps us get to that 5-person EB membership. That is the odd number.
So in that case, it looks like option 1, I think, is what you're basically describing. Recombine the AVP and EVP positions, provide GA-ships for each, eliminate treasurer position, reassign between secretary, administrative assistant, business manager, restructure the social chair position to take on some of the current admin positions, I believe. And then we would also add that add the GA position that does predominantly advocacy that is not part of the executive board and is instead hired. Does that sound like pretty much what
Yeah,
you're
that sounds
proposing?
like it. So
Okay.
the third GA will then go to like a director. We'll
Right.
probably merge 2 or 3 positions within our support staff right now and create a
Mhm.
GA out of that.
Okay.
Yes.
And then have someone who does that full time that will be employed, like hired, not elected. Is that what everyone is?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
If I can correct a couple of misperceptions we have about the treasurer's position. Last semester, I took a leadership role in the budget roundtable meetings which we had. And the primary concern that was raised was that in order for the business office to actually be able to accurately track our expenses and assign them to the right categories in our budget, it would require the secretary to do, or it would require the treasurer to do an awful lot of work. And we were talking about, it would have to be a team effort, that all of the directors would have to, travel grants, Club POD, everyone would have to work together to try to make this, to try to actually make this a feasible thing for one person, the treasurer, to do. To remove the treasurer from that whole arrangement pretty much throws us right back to not having any plan for any system that would allow expenditures to be tracked to individual line items in our budget.
I mean, I've been having those issues like consistently because I still can't, like, I've not been able to figure out what's been being spent. Like, with out-of-state funding, I've had to like go through the accountants and talk with them to try and figure out what has and hasn't been spent. With marketing, I had to do that too because we voted to like take that away from Kevin, so he wasn't keeping track of it, and I couldn't figure it out with your budget. So, I mean, I've just been having issues like actually, like knowing what is
Okay.
and isn't there.
So we
No,
don't
I'm just
spend-
saying like that.
Thank you. So we don't spend so much time on this conversation. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start up a discussion with the business unit, probably include some of the advisors, and then we'll try and figure out together and see if on their end, if they can actually work without having someone who has the title of the treasurer. Let's also let's hear from them as well, since we are trying to put this on them. Let's be sure that they can handle that. Because I'm thinking if we have sub accounts for all of the departments we have right now, like socials, events, travel grants, and all of that, the president, the administrative assistant, and the advisor, these 4 people can easily track what we're spending per time and have a very detailed report for us when we need it. That's my understanding from working with them so far. A lot of the information I've needed, quite frankly, regarding treasurer, I've gotten those information from walking up to Karen and asking her for it. She has that information online already,
Convenient.
and it's much more convenient because she's at the office literally every time. Go for it.
I think probably final thing, just so that we can move on with the agenda because it's pretty robust. Keep in mind that just because these positions aren't here for next year doesn't mean that they're not going to be there for the following year. I mean, there can be change is good.
Yeah.
Trying new things is good. Trying to save money is good. And if you decide that, people decide that they want the positions back,
Very
bring
true.
them back.
No, that's a very valid point. So,
And when do we need to make this decision by? When do packets go live for elections?
that's a match. So what I'm thinking is
Megan, do they go live in March or do they go live in February?
March, yeah.
March, okay.
I
Then
think it's after
we can
spring
discuss
break.
this again at our
right?
next EB meeting and try to come to a consensus then. How does that sound?
what I was actually thinking of bringing it up to the next
General counsel?
GC meeting, if we have time for that.
I'm just worried that at this point, we still have enough confusion going on just within this room that it would be very hard for anyone to make a coherent argument for any of these options, and I don't think the entire general council can hash out this many different options. So I'd really like to see the EB sort of come to consensus and then pass it on.
I won't be here to run the meeting, so it's really because I'm going to be gone for
Oh, you know
leaving.
around that
I'll be
way.
gone.
Who's running the meeting?
I'm going to ask Jasmine to do it because she's got experience doing it and she's admin VP, so that makes sense to me. That said, I haven't put the preliminary agenda together, so I don't actually know how much time we're going to be spending on things. I know that there's going to be some conversations that are going to be heated and probably take some time, so that's just a thing to keep in mind. I will echo what Jasmine is saying here and say that if we want to put together more than one option in front of the GC, then you need to put all of that together in a very clear and easy to read way that you then share with all of them by tomorrow, basically. None of them are going to read it, but it would be nice to be able to say, I shared this with you last week.
I have a question. So last year, they separated the vice presidency position.
Mhm.
Before that, there was an even number on the EB.
No, the
Mhm.
social share wasn't on the EB.
No, it
No,
was.
there was.
It was?
It
Yep.
was.
Last 2 years there was 6 people on the
Yep.
EB.
Oh.
And how many times was there a tie on the EB that couldn't be broken?
I think never.
Okay, so then the one thing that I'm really committed to is recombining the 2 vice president positions. And the rest of it, I mean, we can cut the other positions. Jim's made a pretty good argument about it, right? Like, it would really save about $3,000 to combine,
35.
no, to combine some of the other positions. So like secretary and treasurer or something like that, to like reassign those duties. It would only save a little bit of money. It wouldn't save a lot. So the thing that I really worry about is let's combine the VP position, and then if they've had an even number before, then if there needs to be a tiebreaker, then why not just send it to the GC, because they should be making the decisions
So,
ultimately anyways.
Part of the goal here is to save money, and we save no money if all we do is recombine the 2 VP positions and create that advocacy GA. While I do think that's a good idea,
We
I
would
don't think
save
it's.
some money,
No, we would
because
save no money.
we would, because those positions wouldn't be getting their money still.
We save
But
very
we-
little, yeah, because the current legislative director.
So it'd be around 10,000.
Less than that.
Mm.
Because
like
there'd be
7.
3 people combined. What do they get paid? Do they not get paid like 3,000 a year?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Yes, there would still be.
Yeah.
What's
So
the
if we
top
combine
position you're
3,
thinking
then
of?
that would be about $10,000 that we would save.
What's the
Yeah.
third position you're thinking of? Legislative development.
Fundraising, legislative affairs,
And marketing.
and marketing.
Okay. All right. Let's
Or
go
we
to-
could do even like the survey, like the institute director as well, because
No,
that.
I think that position should
That,
stand
that should
on
be
its own.
specific statistician.
Yeah, it should stand its own.
I can see
But-
that.
And
but
Well, I think
otherwise-
Jude should probably go ahead and talk to the business office and see if they think that it would be more or less efficient to eliminate the treasurer position. And basically, we just go with the business office's recommendation on that, regardless of what else they decide to change.
Because we could still have a
Okay,
treasurer, we
okay,
just wouldn't
okay.
maybe have a
I'm gonna
separate.
need to cut this discussion
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
short
sure.
because it's not going anywhere now.
So then can we discuss this next meeting?
Yeah, next meeting
Okay.
before we take to the GC.
Okay.
New business. Then yeah, that's you.
All right, so part of having the Supreme Court means we have to pay the Supreme Court.
How much
Um,
are we?
And I'm going to advocate, and they've asked for, and I think it's reasonable, that we pay twice what ASU but A pays. That's a total of $1,250 a year for all of them, which is
Twice?
Sorry,
Yeah, 2 times the amount.
We're
Why
gonna
are
be
you
more
asking for
obnoxious.
twice a month?
Because
Because
we're gonna be more obnoxious.
we're going to be more obnoxious. We're
Why are we assuming that we're gonna
we're-
be?
We're doubling their workload, and we're also lengthening the amount of time they have to
That's
spend on stuff
unfair.
because they have to run 2 election cycles back to back. So their entire spring.
ASU has 2
theoretic.
elections.
Yeah, but
That's right.
They
what I
don't do
mean-
anything
what
with
I mean-
primaries.
What I mean is ASU and
Actually,
GPSC elections.
ASU has like 3 elections.
Yeah, but what I mean is our elections and their elections don't ever overlap. So that
Mhm.
means that the Supreme Court is going to be working for longer.
Yeah.
So they're
So how
going to
much
be
is
working.
it twice? How much
So,
are we talking about
What
exactly?
I'm asking $1,250 total from us every year for the Supreme Court. What
Wow.
that, yeah. So
They
that
don't get paid a lot.
they don't get paid a lot.
It's
What that
very minimal.
what this does is it moves the Chief Justice from $150 a year to $450 a year, which is what we pay all of our reps, and everybody else gets paid slightly less than he does. So I think that's a perfectly legitimate amount of money.
Okay, let me understand. Let's make the argument clear. Are you asking GPSC to raise their total earnings, or you're making an argument for GPSC to pay these amounts? Because if it's raising their total earnings, ASUA can also increase whatever they're paying right now.
We have to
That-
pay them.
We have to
Yes.
pay them.
Okay.
And that's
That was part of
and
this.
that's a conversation that we can have with ASUA in the future.
Mhm.
But I think this year we need to, I think they need to be making this amount of money.
So
I-
1,250 is your recommendation.
Yeah,
And that's what they asked for.
that's what they've asked us for, because I think it's a legitimate amount of money. The other thing you have to keep in mind is now they're giving up all of them the ability to run for GPSC or involve themselves in our politics
That's
at
true.
all, and so that's a lot to give up, I think, because at least at one point, this Chief Justice was a GPSC rep.
Yep.
So
Okay.
that's a lot you're asking these people to give up in
Oh,
order
was
to
he?
make ourselves better.
Okay.
And so, and it's also frankly, peanuts.
Okay, Reverend,
It's
if you,
between, what, 5 people?
Yeah.
do any of you wanted to chime in on that, Marcus and Jean?
I agree with the amount that they are asking us, and I know that it may seem a little unfair, but I am anticipating that a lot of our representatives are going to be using their services, considering with the conversations that we had in the general council meeting. So I am anticipating a lot of work that's going to happen for interpretations, and I think it's fair in order for us to get things that we need to have established and to make sure that we're a little bit more organized than we currently are. So I'm all about it, especially if it, in the long run, if it's going to help the GPSC run a little bit more efficiently.
Okay.
So can we
That
vote on
sounds
this
good.
and
So
then
is there a
send it to
motion
DC?
to?
Well, Jude, let me throw in my 2 cents worth as a treasurer. So, I sent you guys out a budget, this, last meeting. Assuming there's no errors in that, we're 10,000 over budget. We don't have a balanced budget, we don't have the money, we're real short on money. We should probably get the budget issue sorted out before we make any kind of decisions about spending even more money. I mean, I think it's a reasonable amount of money to pay. I just don't know if we have.
So the vote right now, it's not just for this term, it's for next year. And
Yeah.
so what we're voting on is whether or not we want to pay them $1,250 for their services yearly, not necessarily for this year. And if we're going to pay them for this year, I don't think we'll pay them $1,250 to start with. It's probably going to be a prorated amount.
I would say that they've been working with us all year, and I'm going to advocate to the GC that we give them the full
For this year.
for this year.
Okay.
They've also said they are not happy about the possibility, but they were also said it would be reasonable just to pay them half because we started putting them in this
Even though
spring,
they've been working with us
this spring,
all through the fall.
even
okay.
though they were working with us all through the fall. I'm gonna advocate we pay them the full amount because it's gauche not to, but that's really my only reason why. So we don't wanna I don't wanna look tacky in front of the Supreme Court on the very first thing we decide. So
Okay.
that's what I'm gonna say.
I move that we officially recommend to the General Council that we pay the Supreme Court $1,250 and put that into our budget for all future years.
Second.
Point of
Okay.
information. Just to clarify.
Point of
you-
information can't interrupt.
Yeah.
Can you complete your sentence?
Thank you, Jude. Yeah, we're actually gonna have less money next year than we do this year, and we're gonna have less money next year and in all successive years than we have this year, barring
That's
getting more money from
speculative.
somewhere.
That's
Okay.
speculative
But
at
we
this
also
point.
made the decision
And
to
I don't
implement
want to
this
argue
governing
that. That's
doc.
speculative. We don't know what we're getting from all our funding
Yeah,
sources.
there's a motion on the table, so you
So
can vote.
back
Yeah.
to the motion.
So there's a second motion on the table.
Can I get highs
I,
on Supreme Court $1,250?
And this is our recommendation to the
It's a
General
recommendation.
Council.
Yes. Is there a nay? One nay.
alright.
No abstention, obviously. Myra isn't yet. That's 5-1-0. Moving on to the next agenda, if I haven't closed that. Found it. Advocacy updates. Jesse, this is gonna be you. I decided to pull you up to the agenda today since they can just ask. Go for it.
So Wildcat Wednesdays is right around the corner, February 22nd. As of now, we have 3 people going. I have the same statement I have every time, which is no one responds to my email at all. As a side note, I will say that I think it's interesting that several people were interested in going to Washington DC, though no one is interested in going to Phoenix or doing district meetings or anything else that's been suggested. We can do it with 3 people. We will do it with 3 people. It would be nice if we could get more people. So I'm open to suggestions if people have ideas.
I'll check in with Hannah Putnam, our rep in Phoenix, to
Mhm.
see if she's done any work with that, because she's right there in Phoenix. So hopefully there can be some representatives from those on campus in the Phoenix area that can go with you.
Okay.
And last time we didn't know she was gonna be there, but she
Yeah,
was
she
there,
came for
so.
that last time.
I'd
Yeah.
just like to say again, I can never do Wednesdays, so if you ever have one on a Wednesday, I'll do my best, but never Wednesday.
Daniel.
I'm trying to find an EGU member who will take my place on the trip, and so I will keep you updated if anyone volunteers from the English department.
Is anyone getting any feedback to like, is Wednesday just really a horrible day for our council members? Because I know several people have told me that they can't do Wednesdays.
Okay, maybe
I
we
can't
should
really
ask
do
them
it any
what
day.
day of the week they can do and see if you, because you're thinking of having a second one after that, right?
Yeah,
Maybe fix that for that day of the week and more people say they're willing to go.
yeah, I think doing it on a Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday,
Monday won't work because we always have our meetings on Mondays, but
Not like it won't work, but it's probably not very convenient. But you can get back to Tucson at 4 or 5.
Yeah.
One went to Capital, go back at 4.
I think too that part of the problem isn't just that people are busy to the point, right? It's also that people prioritize sometimes. I'm not saying that people should miss class or other things because yes, we are students first, but at the same time, like if you go to a conference, you're prioritizing what you're doing in that case. And I do understand that that has professional, but this does too, right? Like that's part of what being in this organization is about. So I think that sometimes you should be able to compromise on that. But let's see if people can do like a Friday even.
Can't do
think
Fridays.
Legislature's not in session.
No,
on
no, no,
Fridays.
not for up there, but like for like meetings around Tucson with people if they're in town. Because if they're not up there, then they would probably be here hopefully or around. So let's see what we can set up because Fridays would work better I think for most grad students, right? A lot
Another
of grad
thought, is
students.
it possible to schedule something during spring break? Are people here normally? For those who are saying it's classes,
Yeah,
if we have
is the
something
state
that would week
legislature
of
free?
spring break, would we?
Yeah, the state legislature should be,
Cause we'll be
Open
back
that
on
week.
Tuesday,
Yeah, you guys are coming back on Tuesday, so you
so
can
we could go on Wednesday
see
or
if
Thursday.
Wednesday or Thursday is open. Then talk to the GC and see if there are people who are willing to do that. And I'm guessing that when you say 3 people for 22nd, is that including me?
yeah.
Still on probability.
Okay,
yeah.
we got 2.5. 2.5 committed.
I
Yeah.
can commit to a Tuesday or a Thursday if you ever schedule one for Tuesday or Thursday.
Okay.
Okay, and you go on your other updates.
So there, as of now, we've kind of signed on board with the agenda that Mike specified. I agree with most of that. I do have some concerns about the tax issue and going along with that and letting them claim that they have made $1 billion investment in higher education when that is in fact not the case. That's funny math, any way you cut it. And they said that whenever we went to, I can't remember the name of that.
Cats of the
Capitol. That, you know, that we were gonna hear this $1 billion figure that wasn't exactly right. Beyond whether that figure is exactly right, I personally think that the better advocacy position is to advocate that they stop charging the tax to the university. We're one of 6 states that do that total. It's a really bizarre policy. So I think the better advocacy ask is to say, stop taxing
I concur.
us.
We're a land
Let's
grant
just keep our
university.
money.
Yeah, well, exactly.
But then for them to continue taxing us, hold that money and say that we can get it back if we match it, and then regulate how we can spend that money,
Yep.
doesn't seem like a good policy proposal, in my opinion. So I wanted to touch base with this group, to see if you had any feedback, because I know that Mike is amenable to, you know, he doesn't have the authority to change the advocacy of ABOR, but if that's something that we don't want to talk about in the meetings, you know, we can take anything off the agenda easily.
So the question is, do you want to talk a little bit more as to why ABOR has decided to go down the route? Because it's not like they haven't thought about simply asking the state not to tax us any longer, but do you know why they've chosen that other option?
I think because the idea of getting that money in a designated fund, getting it earmarked that it definitely comes back to us, provides something, which, that's true. And at the end of the day, if we advocate for them taking away the tax and this is the best deal that we can get, we probably take it. But to start the negotiation here, seems like a bad strategy, in my opinion. And then I also, what I think will ultimately happen is they will continue the tax, they'll designate it, we'll have to come up with a match, and then they will cut other funds to higher education and say, look, you guys just got $1 billion investment, you don't need X, Y, and Z funding. And so I think at the end of the day, we're going to be hurt by it. As far as why Arizona Board of Regents does what they do, I think every single person on the Board of Regents is appointed by a Republican. And so they're an independent body here to advocate for the universities. However, they are all connected. They're all really well connected to get appointed to our board. Those are not easy seats to get, and they're highly coveted. So those people all have connections and motivations that are different than mine. But I think really they probably are looking at it as something better than nothing.
I think
And seeing what the state's done, you are looking at really nothing.
I think it's weird that they aren't advocating for a tax cut to a Republican Congress, but that's just me. And I just don't, and I agree that Jesse's right. This is a bizarre place to be, but this is where we're at.
Well,
'Cause, we can't change or Mike won't allow us to change the things. We can say whatever we want, but not quite.
I mean, we can have our opinion,
Yeah.
but
We
we
might
can't
not be asked
guarantee it's
back.
gonna change anything.
We might not be asked back.
Yeah.
well, and I think a lot of people on campus, powers that be, might be excited about this
They might change
possibility
it.
because the matching, because they think that's gonna be a way for them to reinvest in the university, which, like you said, I mean, there could also be an argument made that, well, you got this money, so we don't need to give you X, Y, and Z, like you were saying.
Okay.
So it's just something that's probably the biggest issue that I have a concern about. There are plenty of things to talk about, and these meetings aren't going to be incredibly long. And so I think that we can fill the time with other things, if that's something that this group wants to keep on there. I don't think it's a great position, but I don't think it's detrimental at this point. So if that's what this group wants to do, we can keep it on there, or I can email Mike and say, we wanna do the 50% funding and the other issues and highlight those. And I mean, he and I have talked about, we can go in and say anything we want, really. He can't advocate that in his position if we wanna throw something that isn't Arbor approved. But just because it's Arbor approved does not mean it then has to be on our list of talking points when we go in. When Danielle and I go in to the meetings, let's be clear.
I haven't said I'm not.
See how quickly you get kicked out of the club?
Yeah, 'cause you
No,
can commit.
please come with us.
I don't know, maybe.
You're really hurting our numbers, man.
I'll try. I don't think it's absolutely necessary for me to be able to showcase, but I'll try to go with you guys. Just stick with me in the plan.
I have a thing from Kevin about that, but we'll get there later.
Okay, that's fine. I kind of spoke to Kevin also. Any other update from your end?
Well,
from
then
what we have?
NAGPS is the other thing that's right on the horizon.
Okay.
And right now Danielle and I are scheduled to go to that.
Okay. Awesome.
We are working with Sam, the Director of Legislative Affairs there. She's new in her position and really trying to take a new approach, and so we're trying to make sure that we have a seat at that table, including getting more involved with the regional group, because the Western region is virtually non-existent at this point, so we think that's a good opportunity for us to have a louder voice within that group, through both the region and then through Sam.
Is any of you in touch with the regional chair? Has any of you spoken to him?
He's, what's his name?
Price.
Never mind.
There used to be Anthony, but he handed over to Price, a guy called Price. I can put you in touch with him if you guys want to.
Okay, I've
get
emailed
involved.
a couple people there, and they write me back and say someone else is going to be in contact with me, and then that's
Price
the
works
end
with
of
Sam,
that.
so Sam can even put in touch with him as well. He's in ASU, he's the regional chair, so if you guys wanted to, I know they have a monthly call, so if you guys wanted to be involved in that.
For the regional
Yeah.
group? Okay.
Just ask Sam about Pratt's number, I can look for that too.
Okay, I will reach out to Sam because
Yeah.
I need to email her anyway. because I think that the plan is for me to do one of the workshops with first-time, members, attendees, just about what to expect in the meeting, how to talk to representatives, the difference between education versus advocacy, all that good stuff that you hear me talk about all day long.
So are you guys still setting up your meetings individually or you working with ASU?
We're working with ASU.
Okay.
I already talked to Sam about that, and she said we could go to their meetings, so.
Together, okay.
Yeah, and then I am going to work with her, so if she has any trouble scheduling, particularly in southern Arizona, then I'm gonna try to.
Regarding NAGPS, have you talked to Jacob Wilson at all?
No.
I don't think so.
Alright,
I haven't.
so I'm pretty sure he's on the leadership team for the Western Regional
But
chapter.
they took him off from that. The reason is he wasn't participating in their calls or
Okay.
whatever, so they took him off from that
Never mind.
sometime last year.
Well, he's on the website.
Well,
They haven't,
that's
That's
right.
another
Yeah.
issue.
Anthony sent me an email
Okay.
telling me that they took him off from that. That was sometime last year.
Okay.
And the only other thing that I would say is, you know, and it kind of links to the comment I made earlier about, I think it's interesting that nobody wants to go to Phoenix, but several people want to go to DC, that maybe going forward, we communicate to reps and have a policy that says, if you do want to go to DC, you need to be involved in
yes.
other advocacy activities as we go along, whether it's Cats of the Capitol, Wildcat Wednesday, district meetings, writing letters, having an issue here on campus, campus pantry,
Yeah.
sexual assault, anything that you want to be involved with, attend a legislative affairs committee, and, you know, show interest in something other than a trip to DC.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Any other comments or questions for Jesse? If there isn't any, we're gonna move on with our agenda. Jesse, thank you so much for coming in. Thanks for sharing that with us.
I have a quick thing related. I will share the budget for the trip once we've got that booked, and then once we get back the per diem, I'll share all of it all together.
If you wanna do that, that's fine. I would also say maybe when you get back, you share everything at
That's
once.
what yeah.
Things may change.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, once
Transportation
we
and
get
all
back,
that.
I'll share everything
Yeah.
all together. That way everybody knows exactly what was spent. Any questions, because we did decide it's just gonna be the two of us, because that way there'll be a little bit of money left over for regionals, if somebody wants to
Do
go.
you- Okay. Jesse, you wanna go to regionals?
I would like to.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and that's in April.
Yeah, it's in
Washington,
Spokane,
yeah.
Washington.
So I'm gonna see the schedule for that and see if that's possible, but
It's usually a weekend, so I don't think you might need permission from work.
yeah, that's what, yeah, I think
Friday,
that I
Saturday,
can
Sunday.
swing it.
That
Okay,
was all I had. Thank you.
Moving on, end of year report, GPS end of year report. I came up with this because I wanted us to kind of put up a document at the end of our term that would serve a few purposes. One, for marketing, also more like to have documents that other term can look back to. I know some people have used the word institutional knowledge or not having some positions not necessarily having what's it called? What's the word?
Handbook.
Handbook, thank you. What I wanted to do with this is for us to kind of have an ASU already has something that is similar, which I think Megan is the one in charge of that. So kind of put up a document that would list or talk about all the things we do, all the things we've done this year, how many people got a travel grant, talk about our budget, talk about our advocacy effort, talk about our social events, how many events we put up, the people who showed up for those, and everything we've done literally this year. Now, why I wanted to bring this up to you guys is some of you have departments under you, like socials, you have something under you. I think marketing has a lot under her as well. You might come up with advocacy yourself and Jesse. Jasmine, I don't know. You have research under you. So
Yeah, although I'm guessing you're gonna talk to Charlotte directly.
yeah, but you can also work with her on that.
Sure.
So kind of start putting down together those information together. I'd like us to have something by April. Since we'll be leaving these positions in April, I wanted us to have something that we can hand over to the next executive team. And I also want to give that document to some members of the administration, the provost, Melissa Vito, Dr. Hart, and Kenda, and those individuals. So yeah, please, if you can kind of start putting together everything you've done in your role so far, that would be great. I would remind you again, in March.
I can have Carol help with that too, because she, like
Okay.
I said, pretty much has done some of this already. So.
Awesome, thank you so much. If there's no comment or questions on that, I'll move on to the next thing, which is Danielle, SS5 club funding.
Okay, so Storm and I met with Trey, who is the treasurer, I think, of ASUA as
Executive
well.
Vice President.
Okay, executive vice
Sorry.
president. I knew he's something. I knew he's
That's
something.
a position.
I knew that he's something in ASUA, and I knew that he had appropriations under his portfolio. So, because he told me that. So we're on SSFAB together, and we met to talk with him about the possibility of integrating GPSC club funding into ASUA, and by that they will allocate a part of their budget for us, and anything that is graduate student need that we outline and cover that they don't cover, that portion of money will cover. Does that make sense to everybody? So basically, we'll merge our club funding back into ASUA. They will keep a separate pot of money from us. This is the proposal on the table, and they're working on bylaws, so this is not official yet, which they're gonna present to the GC. So, merge it back in. We will have a small pot of money in there, which is about what we spend per year right now anyways. And that money, they will not have like the rules for ASUA that applies to the undergraduate clubs. That won't apply to that amount of money. That's gonna be their bylaw proposal. And then we'll drop our club funding request.
Are we dropping it for this year?
If they get the
Possibly,
bylaws to
yeah.
us in time, yes. But we're not sure, again, we're waiting on them to get the bylaws together. That should be coming. We'll bring it to the GC will approve, and then
What's the deadline
not.
to withdraw application from
As
SS5?
soon as possible.
ASAP.
Because next GC meeting it's in 23rd or 20 what? Is it gonna be too late by that time?
It's Monday.
20th.
Next
No,
Monday.
it won't be too late, this coming Monday. The 20th won't be too late. But we also, I don't know if they'll
We
have
probably won't
No, they won't
have
have
the
to ask
bylaws
that.
by this time, yeah.
But we can still vote to withdraw the application and vote to pledge general funds for next year, and then we can revisit that pledge if the bylaws get finished before next year takes over.
So basically, this could be really good because it could increase the chances of ASUA getting full funding, and if that's the case, then there's more money for everybody involved. Because they have a pretty big ask. I mean, this is all public record if you want to look at it. I'm not telling you anything that's not
Mhm.
available. You can look at all the requests for SSFAB. So if we have a piece of that pie, then that would be great. We can negotiate for a larger piece if we wanted to. But basically, this is for graduate students only. And if there's undergraduates in the club, it would have to be less than half, pretty much, for them to be able to get this. Is what we talked about initially. If the GC doesn't want to do that, then that's fine. But we figured that this could help some of the clubs that can't get funding for certain things. But graduate students are a large majority.
I
right?
think that's
So
the
it was-
current,
yeah.
that's the current rule. Is
So,
that graduate students have to
what do
make
you
up more
think?
than half.
Well, we currently have problems with this very issue of keeping track of which clubs have grads and which don't. When clubs go through the ASUA club recognition process, there's no box to check that says grad.
They would have to change that. That would just be a change that they would make.
it's easy.
It's also would not have to be our headache anymore.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This would be, and we would still be able to have grad students sit on the appropriations committee there. We could probably even ask for 2 people to be able to sit, club/POD, and then a second person from like the appropriations committee.
Yeah. Well, there's 2 issues here. One is, have you watched ASUA club appropriation? It's an incredibly frustrating process for grad students. It's an incredibly frustrating process for anybody to go through.
So, let me put it to you this way. Based on the amount of money that's being requested of SSFAB this year and the asks that are on the table, we have a budget of 1.8 million roughly. The asks are about 3.8 million. So I'm not saying that they wouldn't be willing to fund smaller asks, like $15,000. We haven't voted on any of this stuff yet. However, I'm saying that if you were talking about partially funding a bigger ask, that if you cut something from it, it's gonna drastically affect the entire proposal. They would much rather just not give $15,000. So we're kind of playing Russian roulette here to wait for ASUA to do this, but at the same time, like, this could also affect some of our other asks, which we consider are like
Yeah.
major programs. And would you rather have travel grants be fully funded or club,
Well, I
if
think
that's a possibility?
Well, I would think that would be a decision that's best left to the council and our constituents. I actually don't know.
Well, I'm not saying that we're making
Okay,
this decision
okay,
here.
okay,
This is a conversation that we've been
becoming
having, though.
a debate that I don't want to.
No, it's fine. We can.
Well,
This is important to talk
Please,
about.
We've got 10
one
minutes.
after another.
I think we actually don't know how many people apply for travel grants versus how many people join clubs.
They have the logistics on that. Janelle has that information. She does have
Well,
it.
I know she has, perhaps I should say, we don't have a good figure on how many grads join clubs and would wanna get funding, that we can compare to travel.
So
It's-
if I would,
For all we
if
know,
I understand
it's-
this
excuse me,
clearly,
For all we know, it could be approximately equal.
okay, so that we don't keep going back and forth.
Yeah.
We're not taking away a club
No.
funding. We're simply
Changing the source.
changing the structure a little bit. That's all we're doing. We're
And
not
People
doing-
don't have to agree on this.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
No.
everyone has to have
So
to have a consensus all the
I
time.
don't think there's
So
a,
if people have
there's a
different
need
opinions,
for,
it's fine.
No, yeah.
I don't think there's a need for the argument right now. We have 9 minutes to the end of this
Yeah.
meeting. Danielle, if you wanted to.
I'll just say one more thing. This was met with good reception at SSFAB and from ASUA. Everybody seems to like this collaborative approach, and I think it'll also go over well with DINA students.
And we're keeping our pod, right?
Yeah, nobody said anything about pulling pod.
Okay.
Yeah,
And last question I had, if we
Let's
did,
ask the constituents.
sorry, last question I had,
Yeah.
Danielle, if we did this, and maybe Megan too, do we still need to keep a club and POD person or move that around?
Club and POD admin person?
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable giving my opinion on that. I think that's
Okay.
up to you all. Yeah.
Well, we certainly wouldn't need as many hours from Club and POD admin if most of Club moved to ASUA, so.
Well, we could still keep that person because then they would be sitting on that appropriations committee. That would be one of the
Okay.
people that we send.
Aren't they hourly?
They are.
The hourly.
So we could just
So
pay
if
them
we
based
just-
on
if
that.
if they do less work, then they get paid less.
Okay,
Okay.
cool.
It's just,
That's
and if
sense.
they do the same amount of work, they get paid the same amount.
Alright, so
Okay.
Danielle's gonna present on this at the Joint Council.
Storm and I will both be
Both of you.
presenting on this.
Fantastic.
Okay.
He was at that meeting, like I said.
Last 7 minutes of this meeting because I want to be out of here before 8. Budget for fiscal year 2017-18. I wrote that down just simply because I wanted you all to start thinking in terms of. I don't know this. I don't really know the process, but I do know that before we leave, we have to pass a budget for next year,
Do we have to?
or at least we have to have. I know when we came in, they already had a budget for us.
Yes,
So
I
it
don't
only
know if we're
makes sense
required
for
to.
us to have a budget for them before we leave. And if you, like for those of you, it comes back to you again, Danielle, because you have marketing under you. For those of you who have pots of money that you need to request, start working towards that so that sometime in March, we can make those proposals to the GC. And as soon as we know what we're getting as well, that would help us make those decisions. We don't know what we're getting from SS5 yet. Grad College, I know we've been discussing to see if we can get an increase from them, but nothing has been fixed yet. Once we know what exactly we would have for next year, we'll talk about it, but keep that in mind. There's no question or comment on that. I'll move on to reports.
Yeah, I could throw out a comment or two there.
Okay.
So, every year for many, many years, we've had rollover money.
Okay.
On the order of many thousands, many tens of thousands of dollars of rollover money. This year we had 8,000. And as I mentioned several times, we it looks like our current budget was never properly balanced. We thought it was balanced. If you remember, I objected at that point in time, and now that I've worked through the numbers, it does look like we're about $8,000 short, of 8 to 10,000 short of having a balanced budget. And it looks like we're going to actually if we had had a balanced budget, we would have overspent that anyway. So, any deficit we have is gonna come out of next year's budget. You know, if we overspend this year, we have to pay for it from next year. This is a discussion that I had with Chris, back over the summer. In theory, we can overspend. You know, we can spend, we can spend lots more than we have. But if we start stacking this up year after year after year, stacking up these deficits, at some point, we're gonna be really putting future councils in a bad position. So before we start talking about, I think we do need to talk about next year's budget. I think we need to figure out what's going on with this year's budget first. So based on that, I would move that we present the budget that I sent out as this council's understanding of our current finances with any corrections that anyone wants to send at the next GC meeting.
Okay, here is my amendment to that motion if it's a motion. Why not you, Jim, as a treasurer, present a data to us that shows how much exactly we have received this year? Because we know we received some additional funds this year or some additional commitments, even though some of that I don't think has come in. If you can tell us how much exactly we have and how much exactly we've spent, so and possibly how much more we have projected to spend, so we can see the figures exactly and know what its deficit is. Because quite frankly, the budget is not clear to me. I don't even understand it very clearly. Danielle.
So that's what I was just gonna ask. The discretionary versus non-discretionary doesn't help me like visualize what we have, what we've received, and what we have like spent already or have allocated. And I'm just telling you this because when I tried to figure out how much money we had left from marketing, and I didn't have an Excel sheet for that, and I had to like this was a group project that took how long? Over a week, right?
And logging this.
But the budget I showed was at the last council meeting, and it basically has like, these were the expenses, this was the total budget, and this is how much is remaining that I'm gonna allocate before the end of the year. Potentially there might be some rollover left. But it would be really great to have like an income and expenditure column and then show that, because that way we can see this has been spent, this hasn't been spent, and this is what the total budget is.
So, I think it's extremely important to address this, because you folks,
Jim, if I may call you short because we're out of time for this meeting.
well,
Unless there's a document
I
that
wanna
we
We
can
have 3
work
minutes,
out.
we have 3
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
I have 3 minutes and
There,
executive board
is there
Here.
a document?
is
oh, I can read
the other
that.
budget. Okay, this is what we've done year after year after year. This is the GPSE budget. There's no expenditure column. Okay, this is not a accounting sheet.
You know, if
This
you
is
put
a
expenditure at the
plan.
top, there's an expenditure
my
column.
ask
Excuse
is,
me, excuse me. This is a plan of how we're going to allocate our money.
Okay.
Now, what you asked me to do, Jude, I don't think the business office can do that.
That the business office can't tell us how much money we have and how much
That's
money
I
we
don't
spend.
think they can project
How
our
much money-
expenditures. Excuse me, folks, let me finish talking.
Okay.
I am somewhat of an expert on this. I've been doing
Oh.
it.
Are
Jim.
you?
Sorry.
Jim,
Excuse me, Jasmine.
sorry,
Oh,
Jim.
oh, Jasmine, clarify your
Jim.
language,
Nope,
please.
we're done
Jim.
here.
No.
I
Jim.
know.
This meeting is
First
over.
laughing in your
Jasmine,
face.
stop. Jim, I don't want to take
Not
that.
doing
Please go
this
back to your
anymore.
seat.
No, we
Um,
are apparently.
No,
We haven't adjourned, and we're adjourned right now. Jim, we simply asked to get us, and if you're not going to get that information, that's fine. Anybody has a report to give? Daniel, please sit down. Let's
Technically, I have a
finish the meeting.
report, but it can wait.
I don't, and I'm leaving. Thank you very much.
Please, if you, we haven't adjourned, please.
I move
let's-
to
let's-
adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
7:58.
Meeting is not for personal attacks anymore.
Apparently it
I'm
is.
not going to do it.
Excuse me,
No.
Megan, were you talking to me or to Jasmine?
The group as a whole, I don't know how to keep things professional during a meeting. Hence the
So,
reason why
was I
we're
being
being asked to
professional
pay
or-
a lot more than other groups might be, but just because of the perception.
Yeah.
It's our perception. That's what it is.
So, Daniel, you understand what I'm trying to tell you about the budget?
I do, and I know that people haven't done it the right way in the
Well, but
past,
here,
but
let me
As
show
I
you.
said,
I
I mentioned
It
the.
is gonna be
the
impossible
Wildcat
for
wasn't there
us
on the
to
22nd, so
know
I'm not sure if she was able to get any of that information out.
Discretionary
But we'll see
versus
if maybe she
non-discretionary
can get
doesn't
some other
tell us,
people
like,
Sure,
content
let's
wise,
talk to
though.
them.
It really
That
doesn't.
would be awesome.
For
Hey
those in the
Danielle,
College
we
of
know if
Fine
you have
Arts,
someone to walk you home. or
just because
anything.
our personalities, we have to be here every day and we can't miss.
So Jude is
So for
very
us,
happy that you
it's-
brought in a bunch of money for